All right, everyone. It's been a minute, but we're back. This is the Giddm Games Stacking the Deck podcast. I'm here with Easton Evans, Kurt Tax Masterson, and we're really happy to kind of get back into the swing of things, start talking about some of this TCG content, gaming content in general. There's been a lot of news that's kind of happened over the past 6 weeks, 4 weeks since we've done this. It's been a while, so I want to get straight to it. I want to talk a little bit about some of these. Let's start off with some of our indie TCGs. Kurt, I know you've been playing some sorcery. Tell us a little bit about your recent competitive streak in sorcery, the last event you went to, how you did, and then where you're going forward with it.
Yeah, so sorcery. If you guys remember from earlier pods, I shilled for sorcery at one point. I think everyone likes sorcery here. I think you guys have talked about it as well without me. But they just released their second set. If you don't recall, sorcery releases one core set a year. Just one. No more, no less.
That's crazy.
They've talked about a mini set that they'll be releasing that focuses on like dragons, which sounds cool. But one core set a year. That's it. To coincide with that release, there was a release event that occurred in Denton, Texas. It was the only one in the United States that occurred. And the only reason that it happened there is because they have an employee that lives in Denton, Texas now. So he made it happen. Shout outs to Drew. If Drew ever hears this, he's making money moves. He's also was the person behind March of the Mortals, which was the largest sorcery event at that time. I think they've probably gotten a little bigger since then with like Gen Con and stuff like that. But anyways, release event. It was a sealed event for Arthurian Legends, and I made it to the finals. It was basically single elimination. You went best of one. It was 5 rounds, and the best record took home the prize. And that was it. I was fortunate enough to make it 5-0 and make it into the finals. Where if you are so inclined to look it up, you can see me get stomped out by a brown bear in about 3 turns. But it all lasts. It all goes until it doesn't. And I felt really happy about it. It was a good event. They did great. Prizing was a little lackluster. The European side event had a custom-made ruby ring that was given to the winner. The artist of that ring, it's called, I think it's Morrigan's ring, Morgana's ring. I forgot. New set, guys. I don't know all the card names yet. But it's like one of the chase cards of the set. The person who illustrated that, their husband is a jeweler and made a custom inlaid ruby ring. I'm sure you could find a picture of it. It looks insane. So Europe gets all the cool stuff, and all we got was a 1 of 22 Death Dealer playmat, which is it's a pretty nice prize. 22 of them made. Everyone likes Frazetta art, so it was some pretty cool stakes. But they put on a good event. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, made it to the finals. I lost, but it was fun.
Easton, what do you think about that prizing? Is that something that would motivate you to go to an event, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm big on the experience where I think going to Europe would be really cool. So even if the prizing was a little lackluster, although it was amazing, like a ring, I would definitely go for that. But the one in Denton, probably not, just because it's tough. It's tough, and I hate the fact that I'm such a EV snob and stuff like that. And it's not necessarily. It's just I think with a lot of the TCG crowd, we're starting to all mature and get older, and the chickens come home to roost at one point or another. Whether you're trying to facilitate a healthy, non-platonic relationship, romantic relationship, or you're starting a family, or you're progressing in your career. Your time is really valuable. So the time that I'm spending, although it be a hobby, if I'm going to spend time out of like my regular Friday Night Magic or my weekly locals event, it needs to be worth it in a way where I am not only just having fun, but I would love to at least get back my value from participating or anything like that, as well as if I do well, because it takes Kurt probably a while to, whether it be looking at the cards or even just sharpening up your skills, that takes time and effort outside of your real life. It needs to be worth it in a way.
100%, for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the hobby portion, right? It's like you want to make sure your hobbies are, obviously it's fun to play cards, but sometimes it's nice to know that's like, oh, okay, well, I can at least break even. We've talked about this before, but
yeah. The goal is net zero, and I think net zeroing is the ideal spot that everybody wants to be at. Is like, okay, I am able to, whether I win enough store credit where every week to, enter in the next tournament or draft, or even I think I had it min-maxed when I was in Salt Lake City, where I was able to do well enough, and if new sets would come out, I could buy the cards and stuff like that with enough store credit. I would, that's ideally where you want to be at. But I think now, because of so much, being able to understand the market value and the fair market price of cards at your fingertips has basically made it to where there isn't really bartering. I have to effectively get either a better trade or even trade across for me to make something happen, where most bartering, like if you think of Days of Old, somebody might have been getting a better deal, and within that getting that better deal, you're strengthening the relationship, because you're like, next time I might let you get a better deal, or you might have those like kind of like crummy people who are like, I'm always getting the better end of the deal. It's just like, like trading back in the day. I'm sure like in the 1600s, when people were like a fisherman and somebody who was doing like textile or something like that, somebody's ended up getting the better deal based off the market rate, and then by the frequency of you working with that person, you're able to get a better deal next time or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like this close to getting like into competitive sorcery. Like I love playing sorcery. I think it's really fun. Now, my biggest critique, so like I'm a board game player that happens to play TCGs. I think that's the best way to describe me. The fact they didn't like do any sealed decks with the new set, and I get that they're trying to go for a whole draft thing. Draft is like, I think it's fun, but it's definitely not my preferred way of playing cards in general. Like I like playing like a sealed whatever. Like I like the sealed decks, and then I also like doing constructed, like straight up building the best deck from nothing. So it's like two extremes, but everything in between, like commander and draft and all that stuff, I'm kind of like,
I think the concept of drafting in general is really meant towards players that are already invested in the game. As a new player, you're not going to want to open up a pack of cards that you've never seen before and expect to put a cohesive deck together. Maybe you can, if you're just inherently good at card games and mechanics of card games, sure, you could probably throw something together. But the average guy walking off the street says, oh, you guys are doing a Magic draft. I've never played Magic before. What is a draft? Oh, yeah, we're just going to open 4 packs and put a deck together. Well, I don't know what any of these cards do. How do I know what's good? Well, you don't. Oh, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that you might be happier or more keen on a drafting. And just to be fair, the tournament that I played in was sealed. We opened 6 packs of cards. We had only just seen the set the night before, whenever they released the entire set list. So it was sealed. It wasn't necessarily a draft, but it would be off-putting. If that was my first event, I just wouldn't have gone. Like, because I was really contemplating whether I wanted to go to that event at all or not, like in the first place.
As somebody who's plugged in too.
Yeah, exactly. Because I haven't seen the stuff. I don't know what's good. If I'm spending, like Ethan said, if I'm spending my hard-earned time and money, I need a return. I need to have, or at least feel like I'm getting some sort of value, whether that's fun or whether that's monetary.
It's $50 entry too, right?
Yeah, it was a $50 entry. Now you got 11 packs of cards, which is pretty good for $50. You got a little draft kit, which is worth about $20. So you made your money, right? You made your money off the entry. And if you hit something crazy from your pulls, great. And then you played in a tournament. And if you did well in the tournament, then you made a little more. Full disclosure, for second place, I didn't get the $1,000 playmat. I got a little sealed pack of foil lands, and I sold it for $200. So, made my day worth it. That's a nice day's wage for doing something that I like, making $200. So I was happy about that. But yeah, I think that Sorcery is trying to cater to, I really don't think they're doing as good a job as they can at like new players.
No.
I was gonna say that I think that they are like getting all of the people who are, I've been playing Magic for a long time and I'm kind of tired. I want to try something a little bit new. Yeah. And they're not doing as well of a job with the money that they've brought in through Kickstarter to market and attract those newer players, because there's, I think that we're starting to see the decline within One Piece's Lorcana. And granted, you might not, maybe this might be a more mature game, which it seems like it is, but it doesn't seem to me, as somebody who's interested in trading card games and was really open to, I think I have space for maybe two games that I can really kind of like keep my mind on the meta and the gameplay and stuff like that, and attracting any new players just in terms of like the events that they're hosting. Like, I think they need to host more events. They also need to simplify it and make it a little bit easier for players to get involved, because even though the larger set, maybe even with the set, how they have the sets broken down is like 500 cards a set. Isn't that how many, like around?
That's how many it was for the first set, like 454. I think Arthurian Legends has like 360, so in the mid 300s.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of daunting.
Big, right? Yeah, big set.
It's kind of daunting for a new player. It's almost like the fact that like playing Magic, and up to a certain point, you can't even care about any of the older cards, because it's so long ago and it's so many cards in the lifespan of Magic that you're just like, I'm almost overwhelmed. And so for a new player, even their set structure is a little bit of a daunting task. So like, I need to learn all these cards. If I'm playing against somebody, I have to understand all of these different, depending on, what avatar they have, this, that, and the third. I have to be well-versed in a lot of different areas. And so it kind of takes away from the experience. But most importantly, I think they need to have more events that would encourage newer game play to emerge.
And I really feel like that's what a lot of up-and-coming TCGs, non-established IPs, really struggle with, is like player retention, new player acquisition, and new / kind of familiar player retention. Like at this point with Sorcery, I'm bought in. I'm in. I've got the cards. I'm traveling for events, no matter where they're at. Speaking of which, going to SorceryCon in Las Vegas next week, where huge tournament, the biggest that they're going to be. I'm invested. So although I do appreciate local play, as a new player, honestly, Ed was the person that got me into Sorcery. He had the pre-cons and he had the playmat to play them on, and we sat at a bar and we played, and I loved it. I was in love with it. But why can't that just be at the local game store level? Why does it have to be word of mouth?
Right.
Why can't you have that sort of established with that, with that play, that competitive play? Because, it's fun to collect the cards, but I think at the end of the day, and maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm not just a hardcore collector like some people, but I like to play with the cards that I purchase.
That's the only way I can justify it.
Right.
Like I'm not like, it's nice that cards have value and there's like an investment angle to some of it sometimes, but like the only way in my mind I can rationalize paying even $50 for a set of pre-con, like that's a AAA video game, $60-$70, but still AAA video game, 60 hours plus of content plus whatever, versus I bought a bunch of cards. I need to be able to play it. Like I need to be able to play it and enjoy it. And I do love sorcery. And hopefully this isn't like coming off as overly critical. I think they're doing a lot of right things, but you can sort of tell where the priorities are, where it's like, oh, cool. People, it's tough because there is a lot of stonkers in some of these indies, and a lot of people, they talk about how beautiful the art, and the art is beautiful, but they saw the same problem with like several indie TCGs where it's like they all talk about the art and the collectability and investability, but there are players that want to play it. You have to open it up to them, and not seeing those precons for Arthurian Legend, or even sort of like, even if it was just like 2 precons, just something.
Something new, right?
Yeah. People, and I get it. Like every time I brought this up, they're like, "Oh, well, they still have beta precons, and those aren't selling like crazy." That's fine. Like you kind of have to sort of, that's sort of, what is it? Your loss leader.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, some costs kind of.
Yeah, that's just something, like, okay, this isn't really going to make us money, but it's building in retention. It's sort of those things where it's like you won't see the fruits of the investment on those precons until 5 sets down the road, when you have a foundational player base, because your players are your ride or die. Like they kind of, in the worst of times, when collectability's down, the market's looking bad, those players, they'll buy the new set because they go to locals every week. They want to be on top of it's why Yu-Gi-Oh exists. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is that model, and for better or worse, but like that is their model. There's some collectors, some investors, but it's the players that are just like, oh, I need this new card, it's $800, and it's like, well, okay. And even in times when, like I said, the market's just kind of doo-doo. But yeah, I don't think y'all have anything else to add on sorcery, but
no, just focus a little bit more on newer players, because and maybe last thing I was going to say is, maybe I understand why it's tough for the local game store model, because time and time again they've been sold a bunch of bills that this is the next big thing, and they've been left out to dry, whether it be with what Keyforge, MetaZoo, add any TCG and get them in. And I think that a lot of LGSs are like really just trying to survive. They're seeing that things are not necessarily working as well as they could have, or they were in the past, and they're starting to have to consolidate. Rent's starting to go up. Inflation isn't just obvious to us, but also LGSs, like things are just costing far more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to get new players, especially when they are only heavy in the digital landscape. Like playing on TTS is cool, but also playing at LGS adds another layer. Like you're like, actually, people play this in the wild comparatively to playing on TTS all the time.
It's so important to be playing in person. I can't say this enough. Like, I'm happy to do our demo videos with people and like help grow their game on Tabletop Simulator, but like I'm looking forward to doing some gameplay with Tuffy's Lolcow TCG, just because we have the cards. Y'all, if you send us the cards, we'll play them and demo them. That's really how they're meant to be. It's a social interaction. I don't know. So, all right. I guess with that said, there's been a lot of news. I don't know if y'all want to touch on Metatwo at all. I know that's been kind of hot on the minds for a lot of people that were in the MetaZoo world for a bit. Yeah. Nightfall. But for those that aren't in the loop, MetaZoo has been they went bankrupt, and they've been bought out by an LLC called Metatwo, which is, I guess, owned by this guy named Charlie Herlocker. And y'all correct me if I got any of this wrong, but it's owned by Charlie Herlocker. He's big in the grading card space and also Pokemon, and he's part of also a conglomerate. I don't know what the way to describe GameCubator Labs is, but his LLC is a part of maybe almost like an umbrella company or a shell company or whatever you want to call it, called GameCubator Labs, that has a bunch of the heavy hitters within the TCG industry. Richard Garfield of Magic the Gathering fame, forget his name now, but one of the guys that started basically Magic the Gathering and went on to run a lot of the operations over at the Pokemon Company. So is that about it? I mean, what I miss in that?
No, you hit it. I think at least to me, I think most people would, if they don't recognize Charlie's name, they would recognize the name Ludkin's Collectibles. That was a big middleman company within the U.S. and also Europe, and he got in a lot of heat in Europe about taking these middleman bulk submission. Right, they specialized in taking your cards to submit to a grading company, making them pretty, and then submitting them for a cheaper price because they got the bulk rate and you would have to pay the average schmuck rate. But they can grade your card for $20, but you could go direct for $30, and suddenly I send you my cards and it's been 4 months, and where are my cards and why aren't they being graded, and what's going to happen? What answers do you have? And that happened a lot overseas and kind of doesn't really work too much here anymore, just with PSA and Beckett understanding like, wait, we can just offer this bulk service to a regular consumer and charge them a monthly fee. Like, why should we let other people profit off of this whenever we can profit off of this?
Capitalism.
Right. So that didn't really happen, but yeah, Charlie's been on. I know Charlie personally through Pokemon. I've known him for years. Not well enough to invite him to my wedding, but if I saw him in a room, I'd be like, "Hey, Charlie," and he might know who I am. But he's been on Pawn Stars and all sorts of. Funny how Pawn Stars keeps coming up with like these Metazoo IP, huh? He was on Pawn Stars for like a uncut sheet of Pokemon cards and all sorts of stuff. He was in a Max Mofo Pokemon video. He delivered a Pokemon Snap Gyarados to Max, which is very cool. If you know anything about Pokemon, the Pokemon Snap promos.
That's a rare card.
Very coveted, very expensive. He delivered one of those. So he's been around. It's interesting. To say the least, that he openly, kind of tied his name to this, right? Like he was the person who signed the public document saying that I purchased this. So
for 2 million.
For 2 million bones, 2 million Metazoo bucks.
That is kind of cool. I mean, man, some of those old Pokemon cards are like real. A lot of the collector item stuff. I think one day I would love to be like, I go and maybe try to hunt these things down. But you need a significant amount of capital to do so. But from my understanding with the conglomerate, it's also a lot of other players and people involved in it. So it's not just the individuals that are obvious to the public. It's a lot of people behind the scenes. It's a lot of industry experts. It's a lot of passionate fans, and some that you might know or might not. And some of them, prefer to keep their names, off the books. Some of them might, there might be a time and place where they come up to the surface and, let it be known. But I'm a little bit more optimistic because it's almost like, what was it in Infinity War when Doctor Strange was looking at all the different timelines, and I was like at a 2% chance of survivability, and there's maybe like 2 or 3 scenarios where Metazoo ends up surviving and being somewhat good, maybe not to the level of what we're used to, but at least having a chance. And this is one of them. Like the people that I know on the back end that are part of the project, as well as those who are, involved in its resurgence, is rather I think it's an impressive group. Again, I was one of the largest speakers of saying that, hey, I don't think Metazoo will ever come back, and if it does, it needs to have Mike involved, and not necessarily from a financial standpoint, but maybe from an IP standpoint, just because although we did like it from a competitive area, Mike did have some creative aspects that did make it enticing, and maybe just the idea that his lack of financial understanding, as much as you would think because of his history and higher education and his family ties, maybe that was also kind of cool, like just the idea of that. But as far as what I see now, I think that they're probably going to do it the right way. Very small print runs, good gameplay and build it back up, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say that I came out pretty cynical against Metatwo and skeptical and I heard Ludkins and I knew Charlie was associated with, and I knew the controversy with Ludkins, but it turns out like he was a different branch of Ludkins. So
Correct.
that made me feel a lot better after finding that out. There's just a lot of misinformation on the internet. So my gut instinct is Metazoo to 2 million. All that seemed fishy to me, but the more
2 million.
yeah, the Illuminati. I don't know. I was skeptical, but after learning what I have sort of learned is, maybe this could be a thing, and hopefully the right people are behind it with the right intentions, doing the right stuff. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'll be honest with you, this is like so I might get flack for saying this. Even if Mike was behind Metatwo or what, it could be the most dog shit company made by whoever. Like, if Metazoo made another set, I would still buy that set. I know that's twisted.
I think we all might.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I'm gonna be upfront with you.
Is this bonding with your abuser?
yeah. At this point, but my expectations will be curbed as such where I certainly couldn't go into it expecting to get any money out of it or really enjoying anything about the product past the fact that I just bought it just because at this point it's like bonding with my abuser, sunken cost fallacy, something in there. It's like, I'm already this deep in it. Okay, what's the next crappy thing I should buy? So but yeah, that's Metatwo, I guess, in a nutshell. We'll find out more. I think they're releasing their first set in Q1 of 2025.
Q1 of 2025. I think it was sort of a blow to many people whenever they announced in this, hey, this is our first product, that they also said that this is a completely new product.
Yes.
So all of my game pieces from the previous iteration of Metatwo are...
That's what we definitely need to harp on. For those who think that this is going to be a ode to the old Metazoo, it's not. Your old game pieces, your old cards, your old everything is not. I mean, granted, it might be of some value, but it's not going to be something that carries over. As well as, I'm impressed with them turning around, and I think that that's them seeing the market landscape and being uber competitive, because with talking with some of them, originally it was set to be Q3, Q4 of 2025 when they were going to come out with their first set, and maybe it might be their first actual set is Q3 to Q4 of 2025, but maybe I don't know if they said explicitly a set was going to be in Q1.
I think they just said product.
So it's ambiguous.
Product.
Yeah, it's ambiguous, but having anything is better than nothing. But I know that they're expecting the first set to be, it was previously stated to be the first set was Q3 or 4 of 2025.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction too about the game pieces and things like that. I still think rare items from the original Metazoo might be like chase like trophy cards and stuff like that. I think just because there's heritage behind it, but everything else I'd kind of, I don't know, that's just the old game, right? I'd be shocked if they carried forward with having the pentagram or the seal of Solomon on the back of those cards too. Like that's all gonna,
that's out.
Yeah, that's gotta go. And
the only thing that will be carried over will be the name Metatwo. That's So, and I pulled up the announcement here, and the very last line, they have all their mumbo jumbo. We are happy to announce that our first Metazoo product will be a new original trading card game available in Q1 2025. This base set will be the first of several planned expansions that begin to develop the world of Metazoo. So you can kind of read into that. They say this base set, so we're going to get first set product.
That might be. Also, within my talking, I think also because of everybody, the push of like Cryptic Camp and other TCGs, I think that there's maybe like, hey, let's put our foot to the pedal and then just kind of try to mow down other competitors because right now everybody is in limbo. You have those who have bought into Nom Nom. You have those who have bought into Chronicles Arcane. You have those who bought into Cryptic Camp. You have a lot of different camps overall, no pun intended, and everybody is trying to get the group of nomads that left MetaZoo. Excuse me, not knowing that that group is kind of fickle. They'll kind of go to any. They're kind of like the carnies, the carnival people. They just kind of move into
Where
is the money going to be at?
Where?
Yeah, and right now that is an important group because they are also extremely loyal and extremely, or I won't say extremely loyal, but extremely vocal. Like once they get embedded,
they're engaged. That's the most important thing. Yeah,
it's the same people too, which is crazy.
Yeah. Prior to this, I was talking to some of them. They were saying they were going to finish 3 sets before they launched. They're going to have 3 sets in the bag, but maybe because they are working with the incubator and they can maybe push out some of this product ahead of time, and they're working aggressively to hit Q1 of 2025. But more power to them. I'm excited if they can do any of the things that they said to me behind the scenes in terms of like the feeling of Caster Cup, maybe not the large prizes and stuff like that. That'll be great. And also I want everybody to quell their expectations. This isn't the MetaZoo of old where you're able to like 10x your ROI from participating in events or selling product. It might have some opportunity there, but you're not going to play in Caster Cup and play for $10,000 or $100,000 plus, or these
$1 million. $1
million. You're not going to go to.
Sorry, fellas. Mr. Evans is the lone champion in that. You ain't getting the run back. He's the one and only.
Or even like Collecticon, like you can't go into the lines and immediately sell your stuff on eBay for hundreds of dollars. In the line. You're like, click on eBay, hundreds of dollars at a time. Maybe there might be that opportunity, but everybody might be coming in and like, yeah, it's going to be the same thing. We're just going to rinse and repeat. And I even had to tell myself that hey, the old MetaZoo was a Black Swan event that right time, right place, early on, and now we have to get back into reality, and that's probably what this is going to be a little bit more tailored to.
Man, the magic was real, though.
Man, it was real.
I will. Yeah. Okay, so I'll run counterpoint. I think that this first set's going to be stonks. I think it's going to be people that the same people. They're going to be like, all right, let's just see what happens. Locked in, buy this shit out. I think there's going to be heavy market manipulation on the outset, not by the company. I think the company's going to keep it on the up and up. At least that's me being optimistic. I'm a half glass full on that. But the community, the degens, I think they'll crawl out from their hole and say, money time.
Can't wait for my Windy City Metatwo stream.
If Metatwo or whatever they choose, MetaZoo 2 does stick to the idea of having limited print runs and things of that nature, people are going to hear that and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to buy out the market.
I would say that, but I think that the economics and the financial situation of a lot of people in TCGs going into 2025, it's going to be stretched thin. I think personally, like you're starting to see everybody's starting to feel the brunt of their obsession and their healthy or unhealthy fascination with trading card games. I think that, you're starting to see like Collecticons aren't the same vibes in the same number of people that used to go used to go. You're starting to see that the prices of cards aren't like astronomical or even just from base set level stuff comparative to a couple of years ago. I think that people are starting to feel the economic brunt of what they did, maybe overbuying, underselling, and you're going to see that maybe with these card games. And I think that's like what's going on currently with a lot of card games is like not a lot of people are trying to buy in because they just don't have the money to do so.
Yeah. I can't help but want to run counterpoint just because it makes for good content, but
for sure.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think the money's, I don't think we're as liquid as we want to believe, but
especially not on new stuff, right? Like I could maybe see a point made for buying into like an established IP, specifically like Pokemon. Pokemon, for whatever reason, continues to ascend in their singles collector prices. I don't know why. Maybe I do know why, but I don't want to know why because I kick myself that I didn't invest in it now that it's 20x. But I someone in it was funny whenever you said nom nom Easton, me and me and Ed both kind of made like a face and then kind of shrugged our shoulders about it. But I think, like you said, it's just no one's willing to take that risk. Metazoo was the risk, and everyone got burned on it.
Yeah, and then you start to see more now of the indie TCGs, like with Nom Nom having to push back their fulfillment. That's a lot of people's money that was locked up, whether they were planning on just selling it as soon as they got it or playing it and maneuvering and then selling some stuff on the way. People's money is locked up. Like the issue with Kickstarter is that you also have a pretty substantial amount of capital locked up until you get the product. And the longer these games wait before fulfillment, it causes issues. And so that rolls into other TCGs because, hey, it's taking me months on months to get product that I could play with a little bit, but I could also subsidize and sell some of it to cover my costs or cover my basis. And that also allows the cards to get into other people's hands. So, people right now, I think, are very cautious because, indie TCGs haven't really boded well for anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the case. What do you guys think is the most successful indie TCG
At the moment?
Yeah.
Would it be Fab?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say
think it's
Sorcery. So Sorcery's sales volume on TCG Player right now has outpaced Fab's recent set. For Arthurian Legends.
Really?
Yeah, so Arthurian Legends has
that's crazy.
Yeah, it has a higher sell-through rate than Fab's recent set. So not saying one's bigger than the other or not. And, that's all purely anecdotal, but it's interesting to see for sure. I guess I think maybe the way to preface it is Kickstarter TCG. I would say for sure.
That's what I meant.
But Fab, yeah, if you're just considering anything outside the big three, Fab's probably more, bound. I don't know. It's kind of locked in there at this point. I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think so. I was just curious if you guys had anything else that kind of came to mind other than Flesh and Blood. That was going to be my answer. Because I recently started dabbling in Flesh and Blood a little bit, just because I'm a card player that wants to play card games, and it's fun. It's not. It certainly doesn't feel like an ambiguous game like Metazoo ever was, or anything like that. But they've had tons of sets now, right? It's not like this is a new card game. But yeah, I was just curious if you guys could think of any ones other than, I guess, Sorcery and Flesh and Bloods. I mean, Sorcery's got to be making money, right? They printed a second set, so
I think, yeah. I mean, I would hope. Who knows how these companies are actually run? Like,
yeah.
Even if you look at the numbers from Metazoo, it still bewilders me. Like, how did y'all fumble the bag this hard?
Y'all had like 4 billion in the.
I just don't. It makes no sense to me. Even like when you look at the NFTs and how much those sold for, and even if it wasn't a massive audience, the folks you had were engaged. They bought every single thing.
But I mean, that was me. I don't know about you guys, but like
I was 12 o'clock. Gotta be here.
Every drop, and they knew it, and they knew it too. They knew that. The dev team knew that they needed to keep printing functionally superior cards, power crept cards behind these exclusive drops, and they would just sell like hotcakes.
It was so fun though, like knowing that you had to like buy this thing to get this card because it was gonna be gonna be meta. I mean, it was
at the event. Yeah. At the event, like you knew. That's the thing is you had these events, these aspirational events that you knew, like even in 6 months, there's gonna be an event that's gonna pay out 10K. So I need to start picking up the singles or cracking packs. Yeah, there you
Green
go. Green Man for Forest Tower. I got, because you know what, if you win or top Forest Tower, the card pays for itself, right? So it's like that was the logic, that was the reasoning. that's part of the card economy is you need to have these events. And I think that's, again, what Sorcery's missing out on is these aspirational events, these money events where it pushes the market, pushes the players into a direction that's like, okay, I need these cards to compete. Yu-Gi-Oh! I still don't know how Yu-Gi-Oh! Does it. Here, have a playmat and a Switch. Huh?
I don't know how Yu-Gi-Oh does it. I don't know how One Piece does it. Like the EV on One Piece is horrible.
It's just the card. You got to rely on selling the card.
But not even that. Like you have to like top 8 a 3,000 man event to get that card. Like you know how lucky you have to be, or how good at cards you have to be to do that. I don't think I'm an 8 out of 3,000 player. I don't know about y'all. But I don't think I'm that guy.
Well,
not consistently.
Yeah.
And gosh, it's just crazy. Another thing about Sorcery is all of Sorcery's big events, other than Gen Con, are all grassroots. These are not being put on by the company. Like Sorcery Con is not done by Eric's Curiosa.
But that's what you should do.
Is that the model?
If you have diehards, MetaZoo was great. The problem was that MetaZoo didn't empower their grassroots initiatives. With MetaZoo, they were so
Society.
Yeah,
they hated Caster Society.
If they would have leveraged and pumped into us, we could have scaled out the UFO pre-release party that we had at the laser tag event. We could have scaled out whether it be the season events and done it in different places. And I think that would have gone towards adding into their normal roadmap. It's like Wizards of the Coast and Star City Games and like any of the SCG con tournaments and big stuff like that. This is just like it should be like a mid-major. But the problem was that it took away from their thunder and they didn't want to work. But I think that what they need to do is utilize those events and pump into them and help that helps out, because it's tough trying to run mass events across the country, across the world without grassroots people. But you got to support them.
Yeah, I think a quick touch on that too. I think Caster Society was mislabeled. I think Caster Society, everybody thought, I don't know how you best describe Caster Society, but looking back on it, it was like a growth marketing company. And I think that's what Caster Society was doing for MetaZoo. It was literally growing the player base. It was just every time Caster Society did whatnot or a drip or whatever, that was marketing for MetaZoo.
I feel like if you asked anybody that played MetaZoo whenever Caster Society kind of was Caster Society, not really cardio or anything like that, they would think that Caster Society was MetaZoo.
Yeah.
They were for the company. They worked for the company. Like that is just an entity of MetaZoo, and it wasn't. It never was. But it felt like that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. So
I want to get.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I want to get y'all's thoughts. I know we're coming up on an hour. We can go over whatever if y'all want. But do you think there's room for like multiple cryptid card games? Is there room for one? I mean,
there's only one.
There's only one
to the top.
There's only room for one.
Because right now it definitely seems like you've got Cryptid Camp and you got Metatwo, right? And
you still got Obscurids. I love
Obscurids.
Shout out Obscurids, but I think Obscurids' path to success, it can't be in the same lane as what those two are going for. It's got to be like I hate this. If they want to do it their way, that's fine. But I think Obscurids' best way is like being the game that you find at Walmart or Target in the game aisle that has like a sealed experience, and then you can always buy packs or whatever online, almost like Munchkin. So
yeah,
and I don't mean that in a reductive way, but like that's that's like a niche in of itself. So whereas Cryptid Camp, I can't see them doing that. I don't think Metatwo, I can't see them doing that. Like they want to be the games that ideally are played at an LGS or whatever, which is way harder to. I don't know if it's way harder to break into. I'm talking about Target and Walmart here, but
Target and Walmart are probably going to be like, "Hey, look, we not picking up no more indie TCG." I mean, granted, also, is it worth the money? Because as much as as much as we wanted to make up from them getting to Walmart and Target, like we clearly see that they went bankrupt. So was that money actually going to? Was it valuable? Like, were they able to see that much growth by being in a big box? Like,
I think they were in the wrong aisle in the big box though as well. Maybe, I don't know, like the Impulse TCG aisle. I think the board game aisle is a different thing as well though. Like where you go to buy. I don't know if you've been down that aisle, but like that's where you buy like your Uno. That's where you buy your Balderdash. Like those kind of games. That's where you buy Munchkin. I'm pretty sure they stock Munchkin. So, but yeah, I mean, Cryptid Camp. I will say this much: the cards look phenomenal. I think they like aesthetically for me. They do have that like MetaZoo hit. I like the look of them.
Do they?
Well, what do you think of them?
I think they look like hot ass.
Okay.
I think the only thing that's gripping you is that nostalgia artwork, that watercolored artwork that you're seeing. The cards are too busy. They're, and I won't speak on any person that might be behind this, but they've got sorcery flavor text on them. They've got life and power values. They've got effect text. They still have like metadata on them. Like, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah, you think it's too busy. What do you think, Houston?
I think it looks horrible.
I mean, I'm a simple guy. I really don't care that much. But if the artwork is cool, I'll buy into it because I never really cared too much for the MetaZoo card layout, but the artwork was nostalgic, and that's all that needed. I'm a simple guy, though.
Yeah, the MetaZoo. Let's be honest, the MetaZoo layout was rough, guys.
It was, and all you needed to do was hit me with the artwork like that. I think everybody saw that Mothman, that old school Mothman with all the different aura that was coming. I guess I forgot what it was. The Emperor Caster medal, the one with the Mothman with all the different.
You ain't ever gonna get it. You ain't ever gonna get it.
That's the one that got me. That artwork was immaculate. Like if there's somebody who had that card,
yeah,
that's
the ultimate chase card right there for sure. Man, yeah, I thought you would have got it, but oh well.
I saw it. I didn't like it. I think it's just it honestly just kind of looks the cabins. I don't even know what function they hold. Again, I haven't really looked into the game.
Yeah, my biggest critique is, I guess for me, I just need to understand like what the gameplay objectives are. So other than that, though, for me, visually, aesthetically, I think they look good. I really do. I'm not just saying that just to say that either. I have no problem roasting it. I think I like the art style a lot. Maybe that's part of it. That's even where I struggle with Pokemon. Like I know I'm the outlier here, but
crazy.
a lot of modern Pokemon cards, I look at them, I'm like, huh.
That's crazy.
I know, yeah. The full arts, by and large, there's a few that I don't know what they call them in Pokemon, like the alt art or what is it?
SAR, special.
Yeah,
special art rare.
Yeah, some of those are really cool, but the rest of it to me is just like
maybe that's my nostalgia glasses that I need to take off whenever I think that Pokemon artwork has never been better. Like,
yeah, I'm on the opposite end of that, but again, that's what makes good content too. It's just like as long as there's something for other people, like I guess that's part of it. I don't know. Sorcery art to me is objectively just amazing. It feels like I'm looking at fine art, but it's not nostalgic for me either
at all. But I can appreciate it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. And maybe my bias with Cryptid Camp is the people that I know that are behind it. Maybe I have that's influencing the way that I look at those cards. I'm not 100% sure. Do we even know how the game is played, or have they just pushed out these promo packs?
Well, that's my critique of it. That's my biggest like negative or whatever is just so far we have cards. I just want to know how they work. And like MetaZoo pushed out samples back in the day, and the samples wasn't even a game either, I guess, which is kind of weird to think about too.
getting sent to some of the most powerful people in the
and establishing a baseline market value. But for me, yeah, the gameplay part is important. Like, I actually want to play the game. I said that earlier, still state the same here. I think I could see myself playing Cryptid Camp because I like the way the cards look. I just would have to know how it plays first. If it's just not fun to play, then obviously I wouldn't go for it. And it's a lot easier to speculate on Cryptid Camp at this point compared to Metatwo, which is just vaporware for the moment. Now, I reckon Metatwo would maybe be a good game. I looked into the developers for Metatwo. They have a video game background, which could be a good or bad thing. I think it's a little... Go ahead.
I was going to say, IP-wise, I think it'll expand far more. I think we'll get more than like 4 chapters, at least. I think IP-wise, it will be better than what we were used to, because I kept getting tired of reading the comics up to
the same point, dude.
I want to know what happened to the Rock dude. Like, did he ever? You remember Rock, the anime guy?
Yeah. Dude, Rock had to have been left on red. Like,
yeah,
I wonder if he's in the bankruptcy document somewhere where it's like, you can't tell me Rock got. There's no way Rock got paid, but the other people didn't, right? Like,
no. I guess maybe we can. I don't know where we're gonna take this, but I guess wondering if people are. Do you believe that people are gonna get paid from the settlement?
No, I don't.
I don't think any one person. I don't think so.
Companies might get paid.
Yeah,
I think Cardio will be pretty up front in line along with a few other companies, but people I think maybe the Dark Tower players will get paid. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I would say the ones that have had the most publicity about them being owed money will likely get paid. I'd say it probably goes to like companies that are owed money, employees that are owed money, and then maybe like
prize winners
like Dark Tower, and maybe fan art people. My wife was a fan art winner. For them to compensate her, they would just have to send her 100 fan art blister packs. She was supposed to get a trophy card. I don't see that happening, but I could see them maybe sending out dead product. But that's
what else are they gonna do with it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, but maybe as an act of good faith. The funny thing, what's funny to me though, is you see in some of these discords, people are like, "Oh, them, removing the gameplay or whatever." It's like spitting in the face of so and so. I truly don't believe that. You can't be this new Metazoo company and be thinking too much about the former fans. I know that sounds a little strange to hear, but I think their best way for success is to focus on a new market segment, a new audience. The old people, they'll come back if they want to, but I really do think you just have to board wipe and start over and
board wipe.
Flood the earth.
We just gotta flood the earth and move on to next turn.
Yeah. I know that sucks to hear. It sucks for me. I actually liked the old game. I know it was jank. I liked I liked the art. I liked a lot of things about old Metazoo, but I'm also a realist. There's so much, like, even by people that never played the original Metazoo, they already know the gameplay is crap. So they've never played it. They just know it's bad. So you have to make a new game. Circling back on that a bit, I guess.
Sorry, gotta make a new game.
Yeah.
I would be shocked to see any one entity, that one singular person that didn't fall under the criteria that you just made of like prize winners, or I mean, technically that's what the fan art winners are, right? They're prize winners.
Yeah, they're prize winners. Yeah.
I can see those people potentially getting a piece.
Yeah, like I said, maybe dead product. They might get dead product sent to them.
Yeah, but I guess they bought the IP. Did that? And maybe you guys can enlighten me. Did that purchase of Metazoo include their product?
Yep.
That product list,
everything.
So they got all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
what are they going to do with it?
Yeah, are you gonna? They're paying to store it, so
right. Yeah, maybe. I agree with you. I think that if they get anything, it'll probably be product. And
Yeah.
that kind of sucks. But
it depends. Yeah, like I said, depends on the product. If you're a fan art winner, maybe you're happy to have your cards, right? Cards with your art on it. But the like Dark Tower winners, they might get product. I don't know if they'll get money. Maybe they'll get money. I don't know how deep those pockets run, but I do think that would be like good PR for a new company like Metatwo.
It would certainly kind of reel those players back, at least the people that were affected. Be like, well, at least they paid those guys back.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I'd still be a little bitter, for the money that I didn't get back. But I'd still probably play the game. It just depends. Or maybe they do none of those things. Maybe we see nothing, and it's that's really what people should expect is nothing. Don't have any type of expectation that, because really they don't have to do that, right?
Well, the biggest creditors were like banks,
right,
which will almost certainly be the first like in that line, and then like credit processing, I think was another one, like Stripe or something.
Banks was I was looking at
not bank. Not banks.
Oh, banks.
But like Chase. Chase was on there. Like there's no way like Chase Bank's going to take an L on a bankruptcy like this when $2 million was paid for it.
Brother, Chase Bank getting paid first.
Yeah.
They said we gonna get ours.
Yeah. They're top of that line. So I don't know. Yeah, that's really about it. I don't know if y'all want to talk about any of the if we want to talk about big time TCGs. Magic's doing all these collabs with Marvel and SpongeBob.
I don't want to talk about it because of MagicCon. MagicCon is happening right now. It's this weekend in Las Vegas, funnily enough, where all of these cool Magic announcements have happened. I'm sure most of you guys have seen like the Marvel collab, the SpongeBob Secret Lair. Which is crazy, but I think the biggest announcement is Magic returns to listing MSRP. We love seeing MSRP on products, and they haven't. Funnily enough, you guys haven't. They haven't had that.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you go into an LGS and there's no MSRP on these Commander precons. So if a Commander precon is selling really well, that LGS is going to mark it up because there was no MSRP, and people would try and justify like spending $80 whatever, starting with this new set, this new course set, which I feel like happens every 45 days, me saying new set. But
literally
everything's got MSRP now. That's cool. I like seeing that. That's sick.
RIP awesome. To the LGS though. They just
that's why
they take an L after L after L.
That dude was that LGS store owner was like, yeah, okay, I can finally break even if I sell this vampire Commander precon for $80 a pop. Now he's like, dang, I gotta sell it for $40.
Yeah, $49.95. Fuck.
Because distro makes you pay the same price for all of them. So some of the commanders, they come in, they actually end up going for below market. They're like you had to buy a bunch of these crappy commanders. But the one that did stonk, at least that's offsetting your loss leader, which is the loser commander. Now it's just like
not no more. It's not.
I will say I bought a commander precon a while back. Still haven't played it. So Kurt, you owe me that.
Tuesday, baby.
Yeah. But Magic's fun. Magic's cool. I don't know.
Cool.
MSRP, I think another big one. This comes from and I know that we're getting low on time, but starting in 2025, all of their universes beyond, which is like their secret lairs or all the collabs that you would typically say, that's going to be legal in all constructed formats. Starting in 2025, they would put out like a funny little offshoot set, and it's okay. They're cool little cards. Maybe sometimes they have alternate names. What comes to mind is like Hatsune Miku, that set. Those were just like reprints. They had the little name right under the name of the card, and you could still kind of play it depending. But in 2025, moving forward, all these funny little collabs are legal. So that, God, I really would love to talk to a Wizards playtester just to see what type of like stress they are under.
Well, you go ahead.
Well, I was gonna make an interesting anecdote, and I don't know if it's a little bit of a bull signal to me, just showing how the company's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and not in a hard way, but their Wizards is hiring like crazy right now. If you go to their LinkedIn page, they're hiring a lot of marketing roles, which tells me they're what's that?
Are those ghost roles?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're real or not, but it's I don't know. It's contrary to a little bit of what I've been saying, where I've been pretty confident that the TCG market as a whole has been going down. But you seeing all these bull signs, or again, like that, or Rudy, and talking about everything stonking, which that's kind of what he does. You can't really trust that, but it's out there. And Pokemon going up. So I'm trying to figure out what is going on within the space. It doesn't really make sense to me because we're moving into an election, which is probably like when people are the most risk adverse. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that. I don't know if we need to go too far into that, but that's just where my head is.
Maybe that's next week's pod.
Yeah.
I'll leave with this. In my opinion, I think Wizards has been uberly successful because they've just done stuff for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just been like throwing darts at a board, and it's like, oh, it works. We're number one, so obviously what we're doing, everybody else wants to replicate it, and we don't really need the numbers and different things, to substantiate or back what we've been doing. But now they are almost in a again kind of in a corner where I think that they believe they need to market to more people. They need to collab with different industries. They need to be in different verticals to continue the revenue that they are used to. So I think what they're doing is hiring marketing to almost save them, because at this point they can't sell into any more LGSs. Like LGSs are going down. One LGS ends up after a while, like they end up kind of just like fizzling out. So they can't do that model. If they go to direct to consumer, they're not really getting in the hands of new people or even having an opportunity to cross pollinate. So, and then the collabs, are the collabs really are they really pushing more people into the game? I don't think the collabs do that for many TCGs like we thought with like the Hello Kitty, or even with Metas or with Magic. I don't think that the Lord of the Rings was like, oh, let's get all these JR token fanboys or Brandon Sanderson people and getting them into the game, and it's really just going to help it explode. I don't think that Marvel is going to like, oh, I want to play with the Captain America card, or SpongeBob is like, I want the Krusty Krab pizza song or the Super Bowl song enchantment that's going to really change the game. And that's going to get a whole bunch of diehard SpongeBob enthusiasts into the game. I think that from a whole Wizard of the Coast, because I think they own Dungeons and Dragons too.
Mm-hmm.
I think what a collab that did work was Stranger Things. Stranger Things, that one was a good one because, you know, the time, the place, all that stuff. But to me, it seems like they're trying to figure out a way to have a infusion of money, an infusion of revenue, and everybody doesn't know how to do it. So right now they're trying to increase with the marketing.
Yeah.
What a bombshell to end on.
Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm a little bit more pessimistic than optimistic, just because I have this running theory that the TCG enthusiasts as a whole, they were slowly, I won't say dying off, but the fortunate thing about becoming like a millennial or like older Gen Z is that we've been able to be kids for longer, but eventually the chickens come home to roost. Eventually you're going to want to start a family. Eventually you're going to have healthy relationships romantically. Eventually you're going to want to buy a house or buy things, and you're going to have to sacrifice things. And maybe our childish hobbies per se is one of the things that tends to go. We got an infusion with COVID, and we had a surplus of time and money, which allowed us kids to relive our glory days. We finally got the McDonald's money that our parents, you know, prevented us from going to McDonald's because we had food at home. And we finally were able to live out that dream. But now we're getting older.
But now McDonald's costs $20.
And it costs $20. So I think that the numbers of people who are in that funnel are drying up. So then you're like, how do I get people, the younger crowd, to get involved? And everybody's like, oh, Disney, like, I like Lorcana, and we're going to get more people in that way. When in reality, they're interested in free-to-play games, not card games and game pieces and different things like that.
Yeah. Give me that fork knife.
Yeah. I want to ski in, mama.
Man, don't get me started. We'll have to get on the whole microtransactions talk on another pod.
For sure.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stacking the deck with us. It was good to catch up a little bit. I want to thank everybody that was tuning back into our podcast. Hopefully we can make this more of a regular thing again. But in the meantime, thank you.
Peace.